Perfect. Okay, we're being recorded. So, Suzanne, should we start with a toast? Perfect. Okay, we're being recorded.
All right.
So, Suzanne, should we start with a
All
toast?
right. You know, it's happy hour here in California, and we really want to share it with everybody. So cheers.
Cheers.
Oh,
And oh, look, at Richard's there. Is Asia
yeah.
there
I
too?
found some OTs that I live with here behind me.
Oh, and you don't have to be 6 feet apart,
Well,
huh?
we're doing our best. Cheers.
Yeah, I have a husband that's a couple rooms away because he's still isolating after his trip.
Yeah, we're washing
Mhm.
our hands frequently and well. Okay.
Well, great. Well, look at we have almost 100 people here. I saw Canada joined
That's
us,
so
and
impressive. I hope everybody's safe and doing well in this strange time in the world, but it gives us a little time to pause and catch up on everything. So we're making the best of it.
we are. And oh, thanks. Look, somebody's here from
Yay.
Portland too.
Hi,
Thanks.
Amy.
Welcome. Glad you're here. And well, thanks everyone. And I think probably everyone saw our announcement about our 2020 conference now to be celebrated in 2021. And of course, we were sad that that had to happen, but we're going to make the best of it, and still going to be a great conference. Okay, so Suzanne, I'm going to go back to the other mode.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth leaving. I think maybe I'll just go ahead and turn off the webcam because they're so tiny
Yeah, all
now.
right.
Okay, that way I can make the attendee box a little bit bigger and we can see. Okay, well, we really appreciate that some of you submitted some questions. So we've copied them and we thought we'd just share our thoughts off the top of our head. We didn't do a lot of preparation. We really wanted this to be a time for people to have a chance to gather and feel connected. We've been trying to say that we're only physically distancing and not social distancing. Look, Norway is even here and the Philippines. Oh
And
my gosh.
Bogota.
Oh, that's so great. Okay, so Suzanne, I'm going to let you take this one. This was our first question, and it's such a great one. I don't know if whoever asked the question is here with us, but why don't you go ahead?
All right. So the question was, since we will be with a glass of wine in our hands, the question was if Dr. Ayers was interested in smell and taste beyond touch, proprioception, and movement, and if she wrote something about this in relation to feeding. Okay, so let's go. Yeah. Well, if we look at Dr. Ayers' flowchart, you don't see taste and smell in there. She didn't develop a specific discrimination test for taste and smell. I think that's quite difficult. We still don't have one. She definitely looked at reactivity, and she definitely used smells in her intervention. Some of you who have seen the adaptive response videotape remember when she talked about sniffing. And little Megan was doing some sniffing of these prepared smells. Let's go on to the next slide. Let's see. But definitely this was in her thought process, even though it didn't make it into that particular model. What I did for our, oops, we went one too far. Oh, no. Okay, wait. Okay. What I did is I looked up some modern references. When I first started studying about this, I was studying with Shireen Farber and Joy Huss. Some of you may remember them from the 1970s. And they talked a lot about the importance of smell. And smell has an impact. It has an impact in a variety of ways. It impacts our emotions. As you know, it goes directly into the limbic centers, and it's very important for our safety in decoding whether something's safe or unsafe or pleasant or unpleasant. It's very important for spatial orientation. We often orient things in memory by smell. For example, I was thinking about when I moved to California and the amazing smell of the orange blossoms and some of the flowers that were in bloom at that time. And I always associate that with that space that in California. And some of us will have plants around our home or flowers that orient us to a certain space. Of course, our kitchen is a location that has those. What we know also is that emotions such as anxiety and stress can alter your perception of odors. So people under stress are more likely to respond negatively to neutral odors. And I think this is something when we're thinking about all of our clients who have difficulties with eating and feeding and very unusual food preferences, that perhaps that's an interaction between their stress, their limbic function, and the actual sensation that they're experiencing. Of course, with humans, you know, when I was looking at this particular slide, I was thinking, well, if we're all home, what could we do? We can make food that's delicious, that smells, looks, and tastes good. This is going to definitely pick up our affect. It's known to make people happier. We can start to put fragrant things around our homes, for example, flowers and plants, as long as you're not allergic to them. Non-toxic scents such as lemon is a very pleasant odor. With people, sometimes the fragrances in perfumes and soaps can be overwhelming, but if you choose wisely, sometimes the scents in your personal hygiene products and your perfumes are really lovely. And the other thing is to bring in scents at this time to tip your memory. You know, I know at Christmas time we have so many wonderful, flavorful, spicy kinds of things like boiling cinnamon and clove on the stove throughout the day to just, you know, add a beautiful scent and memories. And now's a good time to do that, and also to encourage our families to do the same. Now, that's a little tidbit of information. I downloaded a few references for you guys. For example, food-related odors activate dopaminergic brain areas. That's why there's some hedonistic properties to smell. The odor lateralization and spatial localization, they didn't find a difference in individuals who are blind and sighted. Definitely, it creates landmarks. Odors create landmarks. This is where our emotion can alter our perception of smell. So this is something to keep in mind, not only in unimodal fashion, but in multimodal fashion. So we never just process one sense at a time. So you're not going to just process odor. You're going to process that in conjunction with taste and tactile. But here's one of the most important things. If you look just right at the bottom sentence, what they say is that we can use olfaction to induce emotional and physiological responses that improve health and well-being. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you on this topic. There you go. Okay, Zoe, do you want to?
I'm sorry, Susanne. Thank you so much. Good thing we are such a good team. We've been trying to figure out why the room is limiting us to 100 people. It's never done that before. I don't know. Maybe Adobe, with so many people going online, maybe they put some new restrictions on. Katie, if there's anything that you think we can do, I don't know what to do with this. Has never happened before. But they'll.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't even aware of the glitch while I was
all right. Well, we're working on it, and at least we're recording. And Marco, if you have the ability to email anyone or communicate with anyone who's trying to get in, just let them know that we are recording, and we're really sorry we went to Adobe so that we could accommodate more people. But oh well, it's just that's how things are going these days, that we have to adapt and be flexible and ready to move on to other ways of doing things. Okay, so this question says, I recently started working in a training center for adults with disabilities, and I'd like to complete a research project in the results of ASI as a treatment modality, particularly on community integration, for example, coping in a supermarket environment. Do you think this project would be feasible if baseline measures of SI challenges were questionnaire-based? So I thought maybe to talk a little bit more about this kind of question, we would remind our friends here about the data-driven decision-making approach, our good friend and colleague, Dr. Roseanne Schaaf's idea about applying this systematic, methodical way to conducting research in sensory integration, and also then we have found it extremely useful for practice as well. And if you are going to think about conducting research or just to use these steps in your clinical practice, we do find that if you go through the steps and think about being systematic, that it really can be helpful. So the question, one of the things when we saw this question is we wondered about the idea of intervention versus outcome. And when I read this question, I wasn't sure if the treatment modality being asked about was helping people to cope in a supermarket, or if perhaps what this question might be more about is an outcome. That do we think, and I think we probably do, that our clients who have challenges in sensory integration and who benefit from this approach, we see these everyday life changes, like being able to tolerate going to a supermarket more successfully, or being more successful in those kinds of outings. So we think what would be really good when you have this kind of question is to think about what is the initial participation challenge. And if it is community outings, that's something that is good to get a lot of detail about. What exactly is the problem? What's happening when the individual goes to the supermarket? Are they not able to manage the cart and pick things off the shelves? Or is it more something like where they're becoming very anxious and overwhelmed by the supermarket setting? We all can benefit from being more detailed in our in gathering the information about the actual participation challenges that we see. And then you won't be surprised to hear me say, anyone who knows me, that it's important that we conduct a comprehensive assessment. So we need to know more about the reasons behind this challenge. What is it? What kinds of underlying issues might help to explain that challenge? And then we put those together when we form a hypothesis, and then we're going to decide what kind of intervention is most appropriate. So if once we go through those steps, we really believe that AIR's sensory integration is going to be helpful, then that is where we not only set some goals, but we identify outcome measures. So in this question, it sounds to me like possibly the outcome measure, a distal outcome measure, might be ability to cope with the supermarket environment. And then the research question might be around, does using AIR sensory integration for clients for whom it's appropriate, who've shown to have problems in sensory integration, do we see an outcome, a distal outcome, in better ability to cope in the environment at the supermarket? So that might be a long way around answering that specific question, but I think for any research design, or possibly even just to think about guiding your own clinical practice, thinking about those specific data-driven decision-making steps will help you to be more systematic in the questions that you ask and thinking about how you can answer them. Okay, so I just want to pause for a minute. There's a comment from Sophia in Portugal saying it might be easier if we can see our faces. The problem, Sophia, is that on the screen we are very tiny. I mean, I guess I could try, and maybe we just use our webcam one at a time, Suzanne.
Okay.
when we're talking. So let me go back and make the webcam a little bit bigger. Do that. Okay. All right. So just so everyone knows, we are going to go through the questions that we have. We're going to keep this to an hour. I thought, Susanne, maybe you wanted to take this one. The questions are specific to Portugal, but also I thought the second question about mentoring, you might talk a little bit about your online mentoring, and we might mention some of the sites where we know that people have come.
Okay, so the first question is from a student in occupational therapy in Portugal whose interest is sensory integration and asking about what are the best courses, training to invest in the United States and Europe. Well, you're quite lucky because our fabulous partner in Portugal is Seven Senses, and they have a very lively and very well-informed group who are working there, so I would contact them directly. And then the second question is whether there's a program or agency that supports recently graduated European students to start their work activity in the United States. This is a more complex kind of issue because any occupational therapy therapist working in the United States has to pass the reg exam. The registration exam by the National Board of OT is rigorous. It's not impossible, but it would take some effort for you to do that. There are online courses that you can study so that you could actually pass that exam. So I think go ahead and try to do that. You will have to have graduated from an accredited master's program. I know Marco Lau, who's in Portugal, has looked into this in depth, and I think he's an excellent resource for you. In the meantime, Zoe was mentioning the mentorships. We have different online mentoring. I've been doing very few of these, but some of these online. Annie Balthazar Mori has quite an organized mentorship group that she's gotten very good reviews from that group, where she's moving them through in a group in terms of their clinical reasoning. So those possibilities are available right now on a limited basis. We hope that Classy will be able to do that in the future on a more routine basis.
Marco, did you want to say anything just about your experience with, trying to visit? And I don't know if Annie is with us, but she has had some international students or therapists come to spend some time with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Hi, Marco.
Oh, hi. I miss Wine Wednesdays. Yeah, so it's a process, like Susanne was saying. It's kind of hard, and it's possible, but it's a lot of steps. So first of all, you need to have a master's degree on accredited university, and that is just to apply to the eligibility, to the NVCOT, to the board eligibility. So that's the thing that you want to do first before anything else. But I definitely can help if that person wants to email me or contact me, and anyhow, I would be glad to help.
Thank you, Marco.
Hey, thank you, Marco. Okay, well, I can go on to the next one, Susanne, if you'd like me to take that. And then we have the telehealth questions.
Sounds good.
So hopefully some of your crew is going to be able to talk about that. Annie Balthazar Mari was going to be talking a little bit about what she's been doing, but she can't get into the room.
I know.
So I'm so surprised this happened. We've been able to have over 100 people before, so it's a bummer. Okay, so Susanne, I'm going to see if I can close your webcam.
Yeah.
And start mine again. Okay, here we go. All right. So we had a question about how we might be able to use sensory integration who've experienced trauma. and what are our must-have items in a sensory room. So, and I welcome your thoughts on this as well, Susanne, but what I wanted to say was that I think first and foremost, we have to remember that no matter what the issue is, there is no one size fits all. So before we would jump in and say, oh yes, well any individuals who've had trauma and we should always do this or we should never do this, that really just doesn't apply to any situation. I think personally, just like in anything else we do, we meet each of our patients as an individual. We think very carefully about their own individual situation. We take the time to do careful assessment so that we can really tailor our intervention to that one very special person and not try to just do the same things for everyone. So that's the first thing to say. I think this is a really pertinent question given the time that we're in. I am imagining that we are going to see, sadly, probably a big increase in trauma just from this really significant event that everyone is experiencing. And one of our colleagues, Melissa Kay, I don't know if she's in the room or was able to get in if she tried, but she's been talking about occupational disruption. And we're all in occupational disruption right now, and all the children who are home from school and away from therapy and so forth is just so concerning. So I think as a community, we probably do need to be on high alert for signs of anxiety and other aspects of trauma. There are some kinds of therapeutic tools that tend to be more universally calming. I tried to pull a few and put them up again. Not that every person would respond favorably, but I think we all could spend a little time reminding ourselves and reviewing which are the sensory experiences that tend to have a little bit more of a chance of being universally calming. So things like deep touch pressure, slow and rhythmic movement, any kind of joint traction and compression that we see from pushing and pulling. When I've done some work on looking at the sensory aspects of classroom environments, I've been looking at some of the universally calming scents. Susanne was talking a little bit about this and the calming aspect of the scents and how they link to memory and so forth. In the scent area, there are some scents that tend to be more appealing and calming to most people. Lavender, citrus are among them. I'd have to look at the rest. But that's some literature that everyone might want to review and think about what are the kinds of things that for larger groups of people have been shown to have some calming influence. We know that proprioception in general tends to be kind of our universal calming sense. I don't know that anyone's come across someone who's overly sensitive to proprioception. So that's always a good place to start. But this is an important and a complex question. So I don't know, Susanne, if you have.
Yeah, I just have a quick thought about a safe space. I know Jane Kumar was working on that concept with people who had trauma and sensory integration issues. So I think we have a role in consultation with the caregivers in ensuring that the children have a safe space to be in, especially if they start to feel overwhelmed or anxious. And the other piece that we can really make a difference is by helping caregivers understand that when children have different sensory needs that are outside the typical mainstream that we might call self-stimulation or, stereotypies, that may actually be a coping mechanism, and that as long as it's done in a healthful way where they're not hurting themselves, they're not hurting others, they're not hurting any objects, their environment, that they have some time where they can engage in those things, those sensory activities that actually make their nervous system feel better.
you. Well, there's good news. I guess Annie is on the phone with Asia, so maybe we will be able to hear from her. Thanks, Asia.
Hooray.
For helping with this. So we had quite a few questions about telehealth, and a lot of people are thinking about what can we do, what should we do during this unprecedented situation. And there's some really such creative things that I'm seeing on Facebook and in social media. So I'm sure all of you are looking there as well. We have a lot of our colleagues are coming up with ideas. So we're going to turn this over a little bit to Asia and Annie and Kelly. I don't know if Kelly was able to get in, but whoever is there. And so let's see. We lost the screen. Does that mean, Asia, you're going to show something else?
I think I hit the wrong one, Zoe. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. Let me just put that back up then. Okay, yeah, your webcam is off. If you want to, if Asia's going to talk and you want to put Asia on the screen, that's fine. But is that
part of the house now? So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So hi guys, yeah. So Richard and myself are on a different computer, and now Annie's on WhatsApp and video messenger with me while looking at the screen. So that's how we're doing this right now.
Asia, did you want to show your webcam? I can make you a host if you want to do that. I don't know if you do or not, but.
Sure. I'm holding Annie. I need to figure out where to put Annie somewhere else, because right now but I can hold her and kind of talk. We did have a meeting of some of the clinic owners in the Southern California region last week, and to kind of just brainstorm the different strategies that we're using to kind of keep our doors open and still support our families remotely. So I think that PlaySense and Annie have some nice ideas, and also same with Cherie from Launchpad, who's also on here. And I think they are now serving most of their clients via telehealth option. So there are possibilities for us all to kind of get on this bandwagon, I think. I don't know if Cherie wants to maybe come on and say anything about
I wondered maybe Annie, if maybe Annie could tell us a little bit about what she's been doing on Facebook Live. It's been so engaging, and maybe you can tell us how that's going, Annie, and some of your ideas about the subscriptions.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we can.
Hi, everyone. This is so weird. Through a screen. So we've been doing on the PlaySense Facebook page what's called Morning Cup of Go, and we can thank Zoe for that catchy name. So Morning Cup of Go is the purpose is to give our families a little bit of routine and structure, and to give them some activities to help them to do with their kids that will hopefully help to maintain them, prevent as much regression as possible, but also to give them kind of a peek into our heads and what we're doing and why we're doing it, what we're looking at, really like thinking out loud during the video. So you'll hear my narrative throughout, but they're like 20, 30 minutes every morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And we're really just, like I said, trying to help families get ideas. And we have a couple families that were past clients of PlaySense and current clients that watch. And so we get to say hi to the kids, and the families say that the kids love it. Sometimes they just watch it while they're having breakfast, and then afterwards they go out and do some of the activities, which is kind of fun. One of the kind of cool things that one of the families expressed to me, well, a couple of cool things. One said her son actually put himself to bed after their walk, which he never does, which was kind of nice because it gave mom some downtime. It showed that he was calm and regulated. He's a little guy, so a nap was very appropriate for him. The other child, he actually he's a past client of ours, and we had really been working on a lot of oral motor and body awareness, and working on the oral spatial skills in our clinic. And so we did a lot with whistles and straws, and we talked a lot about, drinking yogurt through straws and thick smoothies and that kind of stuff. And she said he was watching our video, and he just got up and went and got a yogurt and a straw. And to me, it seemed like he remembered. He had like a memory of like hearing my voice and the things that we worked on, and he just automatically got up and went and did something that he had never done before, and she was floored, and she remembered that that was something that we had been working on. So I thought that was really sweet that he just had this memory, and it encouraged him to go do something that we had done therapeutically, which was really wonderful. Some of our families are reporting that their kids are struggling to get out of the house, put their clothes on. I think there's these kids that they're kind of internalizing all this stress and what's going on, and we know that moving their bodies is not easy, and sitting on the couch or watching a screen or, all the other things that they do is much easier for them. So I think having these regular videos in the morning with people that they know and love, encouraging them to do kind of silly things that they've always been doing in the clinic with us is getting them up and moving and out the door. And so that's been, our families have really told us that that's been kind of a blessing for them. So I think when you're doing telehealth, consider like maybe it's not a traditional 50-minute session. Maybe it's 20 minutes every morning at the same time to fit into the routine to get their kids up and moving. Maybe you're part of the break during their schoolwork or right before bedtime. So I think we have a unique opportunity to kind of jump in at these random times during the day for really brief moments and get the kids going and on this kind of in this routine, because I think sometimes we're the people that get their kids moving, and parents may not be able to do that as easily because there's lots of stressors happening in the home right now. So I think that would be one way to really think out of the box on how to provide telehealth. I kind of went on a tangent. Sorry.
Annie. I'm sorry that don't have you actually in the room, but I really encourage all of you to take a look at the Morning Cup of Go segments. I know when Annie and I first started talking, I was thinking about how much children like to watch and rewatch the same videos. And I think that I have a feeling that a lot of the kids will be watching those videos over and over again. Maytal, you're doing awesome on the morning session. Even my husband really liked them. He thought the roly-poly segments were just really captivating. And we had talked a little bit about if anyone has videos of treatment that they might be able to share with, of their own, of the child, with that child and that family. Maybe the children can watch their own videos of treatment. And I think there is the possibility of processing how to move your body in a way through the visual system, and that if they had a chance to rewatch some of their own video sessions, that might be really helpful. Oh, Jessica's on, and I know Jessica has some ideas too. But Cherie, do you have your microphone connected? If maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you've been doing. And just so everyone knows, the website I put up is something that AOTA has recently added to their website about telehealth. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, you might want to do that. But go ahead, Cherie. Don't know. Okay, I don't know if Cherie is able. Can anyone hear her?
No, it doesn't look like she has her microphone connected, but Kelly, you seem to
Kelly
have.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Kelly? Cherie, if you to connect your microphone, it should be connected since I made you a host. But if you go up to the top, see if you can connect your audio.
I think I'm connected now.
There you are. Hi, Cherie.
Hi, everyone. Wow, what a couple of weeks. We actually have successfully converted 75% of the practice to online. So, and that was, on last Sunday night, I didn't even have a platform. We got a platform. We had our first telehealth session on Monday, and the entire team really pulled together, and we just leaped forward. And the sessions have been going amazingly well. In fact, so well that we are going to keep this modality because it has allowed us to really move into the parent's home and generalize what we've been doing in the clinic. The first session, we start with a virtual tour of the treatment area and what they might have around the house. And the kids love seeing their therapist on the computer. The family is grateful because they are all, many of them are professionals trying to work from home and then also homeschool their kids. So they're very appreciative for anything that we're able to do with their kids. In terms of sessions, we were fortunate in that our local school district has allowed us to move forward with our virtual sessions as well. So we're also providing school services online. And that's a big sigh of relief for our practice for sure. I'm not sure if you want specific, like what we've been doing with the kids. Is that what you'd be interested in?
Yeah, maybe Cherie, you could just give us a couple of examples what one of those sessions look like.
Sure. So usually, because one of the most difficult challenges has been connectivity at the other end. So if the parents, depends on how quick their internet is and do they have devices. So we have had to get very creative, and I think my brain is most tired from having to do all the workarounds. Like, okay, if we can't, in fact, one of the platforms we were on, I think everybody jumped on it and overwhelmed the platform. So then all of a sudden we had to switch to, we were on ClockTree, and we switched to Zoom. There's nice features of both of those, but we're talking with other clinic owners on what platform they're using. But okay, so talking about so once we get the connectivity and we find out how they're doing in the home, we want to know what kind of stressors they're experiencing, and so that we can keep that in the background as we address the treatment session. But we usually start off with something gross motor, and we have a few activities, and we'll usually give the kids choices. We have yoga poses. The platforms allow us to share the screen, obviously, and look at the yoga pose, and then the therapist also is doing the yoga pose. So it might be yoga pose, it might be animal walks, it might be, we have something gross motor bingo. So we'll do something like that first. And then, depending on what the child's goals are, we're making the assessment of what do they have in the house. We might have them build a fort, bring us to your kitchen, and that, again, we're being very intrusive going into these homes. So we tell the kid, ask your mom first before you carry the device into the kitchen. And we let them build a house or a fort. And then we talk about kind of retreat space or some things that they can do. So, and then we usually will set up, it takes a great deal of setup ahead of time in terms of what does the family have there. So if we're going to do some tactile things or some movement things, I mean, some of our families are pretty sophisticated, and they actually have a gym in their home. So, we've been able, I jumped on a call with another therapist, and the kids were showcasing their gym, and it was pretty funny because they're jumping off the walls, and all three kids are in there. So we're including the siblings as well, if it's appropriate, or sometimes they're so tired of being together that they want a break, and okay, this is their time just with OT. And then we're doing specific activities, craft activities, or I did even like parquetry, where we sent the parquetry app, just to cut something that the child would cut. So they cut it up, and then we did actually not Parker 3, tangrams. And so I showed, what I was making on my end, and I said, let's see if you can make it on your end. So those kind of things. I mean, just really trying to get creative. I think the next thing for me is really figuring out some of the technology, which I'm sure some of the teachers that do virtual education, in terms of flipping, when we do handwriting without tears or do some of the fine motor, that's more of the school district things. But getting something that mirrors the screen so we are not writing upside down. But anyway, that's kind of, we get yoga balls out. We're doing heavy work. We had one kid, I mean, he pretty much was doing somersaults in his chair while we're trying to do desktop. And I'm like, all right, change the session, go get your yoga ball. You're going to start off and just walk out and you're going to do push-ups. And I'm like, oh man, you just broke the Launchpad record. And of course, that was highly motivating for him. But then, just showing mom how that heavy work really changed his nervous system was really helpful. So those are the types of things that we're doing. We're also, like, one kid I was working with today, I actually did, follow the leader, but with my hands. So I was just doing some specific hand movements and then having him copy in the screen and then giving feedback like, okay, what's your pinky finger doing? So anyway, we're kind of struggling through, and we have some great stories to laugh at later, and at some point we'll be able to do that. But those are the types of things we're doing.
Thank you so much, Cherie. Maybe we'll even be able to put together some of these ideas and do a whole session on some of the things that are happening. Jessica Hatfield in Kentucky said she was willing to share some of the things they're doing in their setting. Jessica, are you on?
Yeah, hi. So my clinic, we have a combination of outpatient. We have a home health contract where we see pediatrics in their home, and then we also have a school district. So we're like a hodgepodge of everything. And we spent a lot of last week getting telehealth approved in all of those areas. So, lots of work and lots of coffee. So we have experienced the same kind of barriers too. We're in rural Kentucky, so there are some families that don't have internet access, and we're trying to problem solve through that. I know here Spectrum Internet has offered free internet for 60 days and a free modem for people. So I've heard that's true in Ohio and maybe some other states, so that might be an option for some of your families. And let's see, then our platforms, yeah, we've kind of had the same issue with ClockTree. We started there, and then all of the U.S. is now on telehealth. So we have been using Zoom as a backup, and you guys probably know that the HHS has permitted all these additional platforms like Zoom. You don't have to use the healthcare paid version right now. You can use FaceTime, and there's a list on their website too. And I'm sure it's like just a temporary thing to kind of get us through, because all of the platforms are really bogged down. I've also heard that Theralink has been pretty good with not being bogged down, and that's kind of what we're looking at, maybe trying to get together. But Zoom has definitely been a good backup for our families and pretty easy to use. But yeah, as far as like your treatment goes, it's really like a mindset to look at this as a whole new adventure. So you're going to get whatever you put your attention on. If your attention's on like barriers, you're going to find more barriers. But if your attention's on solutions, you're definitely going to get solutions. And, just problem solving through it with your team and with your families is going to be key. And now if you have an organization, with my clinic, I have OT managers and clinic managers. Utilize the leaders in your organizations. Our OT manager had some experience in telehealth, and so she trained her team up based on her experience. And there's been a ton of webinars on telehealth and even YouTube videos on our social media, which is Theratree, Pediatric Therapy Services. Like, we've been trying to post, there's like little 30-second to a minute clips of what a a telehealth session looks like. We've also put some research on our website at therapeutic.com that you can find if you need help with supporting the research for telehealth. And some other barriers that you might see is like to getting buy-in from families. And what we found is just to ask them to try it. Try it out 1 or 2 times, and the families who have kind of been on the fence but willing to try it have actually turned out to really like it. And they're like, hey, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And we're trying to post some more videos too of like, hey, this is what telehealth is, so that families, kind of understand it a little bit more. And then the other piece of that is like once you have that up and going is to really like make the good work zones of your clinic, of your practice, through like the media. So I was on our local news yesterday talking about what is telehealth, because we were the first clinic, and I think we're still the only clinic that's using telehealth right now in our immediate area. And similar to what was said already, like we're definitely going to be keeping this on in our practice. We've looked at doing telehealth a while ago to eliminate some barriers of distance, because we have some families that drive a couple hours to see us, and we've talked about doing a hybrid model of, okay, maybe we do 1 or 2 visits a month in the clinic and then do telehealth to help this family out or that couple families. But yeah, so really it's going to put a value to what you do and be creative. Let the people know in your media of like what you're doing to help families, and we really have an opportunity to be their lifeline with all of their staying at home. We have a chance to like really help them out in a new and exciting way. So yeah, don't be.
Thank you, Jessica, so much. And Kelly Aldright is going to share a little bit about working with some of the children that might have more difficulty following directions and using some of the platforms. You connected, Kelly? We just have to unmute you. Okay, there you go.
Hi, everyone. So, it's been an experience, quickly shifting gears. And, I have quite a few clients that are in the kind of moderate to severe population where, they really aren't able to follow directions. Even seeing me on the screen becomes, I want to turn you off and go to Netflix. So I have been working with the parents a lot, and the parents are really finding themselves in this new role that's very scary for them. They're intimidated. They don't know how to work these items. And so what I have found success in is in that first session, besides like that kind of virtual tour with the parent, finding out what their schedule is, what they're doing right now, and then asking a lot of questions about what they have at their disposal there. So a lot of parents don't realize that just a Tupperware container or these things could be useful. And I put together kind of a list of the items that they have available. And then I've also been sending a list to the parents of suggested items that might be great items if they can get their hands on to supplement therapy. And then for the first directive session, what I've been doing is actually taking the materials that they have and putting together a very simple activity that the parent is going to facilitate. And so oftentimes what I do is for instance, today I had a parent who had a peanut ball, and so I said, okay, let's get one simple puzzle, and the peanut ball, but the activity setup had to be very specific, like going way back into OT school when we were doing activity analysis and planning when we were OT students, is exactly how you have to present it for the parents. So it was like, put the ball in the middle, put the puzzle pieces on one side, put the other puzzle pieces on, the board on the other side, put the child here, place your hands around their hips. And so it has to be really, and then before we even go into working with the child, that first part of my session with them is reviewing that program that I sent them, that activity, and just talking them through it, finding out what questions, and then we set it up together. And then as they're doing it, you're really in that coaching kind of model. And, you don't realize that they've never had that opportunity as the therapist to really, have their hands on their child to facilitate it. They might have that therapy ball, but the kids just kind of bounce and does their own thing, but they don't even know, if I put my hands on your hips like this, I can control you while you're on the ball. Or a parent today, when I had him rolling over, she said, but the ball's not moving with him. I said, that's what I want it to do. And on the bottom of every activity sheet, I'm putting a little, why is this helpful section for me, for the parent, so that to help bridge that gap is, well, this is providing them this type of input, and this is why we're doing it. And so through the session, I'm guiding them, and I'm really giving a lot of encouragement to the parent themselves, just saying like, wow, that you're doing really great. Look at that. Look what they're doing. He's really regulated. He's following your direction. And the parents have really found that helpful. And then we're kind of building from there, so that we talk about another activity that I might send them for next week. And my hope is that after a few weeks, we'll actually have a long, where they could go from one activity to another, like we would do in therapy. But for now, it's that one activity. You're spending some time on the front end and the back end. But even those activities, it took us like 40 minutes to really go through it. And yeah, the kid would go run around and he would leave, and then I'd talk to the parent and say, well, let me show you a different way we can use the therapy ball next. Let me show you how you can use the ball like a trampoline, and let the kid be off and just really have the parent feel comfortable with what they have in their environment and coach them through has been helpful.
Thank you, Kelly. Gosh, it's so inspiring to hear all these great ideas, and we're so lucky to have our youthful therapists who know technology so well, really meeting the challenge of the time right now. I've just been messaging Katie and Susanne. I'm thinking that really it would be great if we could capture some of these ideas. Maybe we can put together some kind of an online module that people could use right now and get some ideas. I know, Bethany, you had some questions about billing. It seems like a lot of things are being relaxed right now related to HIPAA. Annie just mentioned that there's some relaxation of some of the licensure rules about state-to-state requirements. For those of you in other countries, I don't know if telehealth has taken off with the kind of creative ways that we're seeing happening here in the U.S., but I think it would be great if we could capture some of these ideas and share them. So we'll see what we can do about that.
That's great. And, I just want to jump in here and tell everybody, we've got a big group on this call, but I always think that our community is so very humble. And so you think, well, what am I going to do? What do I have to offer, to families with telehealth? And I can tell you that as soon as you get on that call and you're with the caregivers, you're going to think of many things that seem obvious to you because of your in-depth clinical reasoning, your training, your background as an occupational therapist, your understanding of sensory integration, perceptual motor development, that wouldn't have occurred to others that don't have that same background. So I think it's time for us to not be quite so humble and realize that you have so much to offer in terms of your clinical reasoning as you're consulting with families. And then I just also want to express my deepest appreciation for all of you who are jumping in and exploring new ways to support our family and children. And maybe not everything works at the beginning, but this is going to revolutionize the way we're interacting with our clients so that we can be more effective, especially for those families who can't make it to an on-site once a week or once a month. So anyway, I just want to thank everybody for all you're doing and, all the creativity that's going into your thought process right now.
Suzanne, let's go back to, can you come back on the screen?
Hi, here I am. I'm on my screen. Am I on your screen?
Yeah, I think. I'm not sure what happened.
I I don't see you.
Not sure where I went. You see me?
I don't know where you went, but I found my wine. just in
Well,
case anybody was interested, and and I have the bottle where there's more. I don't need any more right now, but just want to say we're here, we're doing this. It's Wine Wednesday in California. It's not the first, it won't be the last.
Yeah, this was fun. We'll see if we can figure out the problem on the maximum. It's pretty great when we could get together with 100 friends for a happy hour. So let's see. Let's see. Someone is raising their hand. Irvi? I think we have just a couple minutes left. Irvi, can you go ahead and give us your question? Well, if you want to type it, you could type it, or you could talk. Oh, I think we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Oh, do we? Question was around.
Yeah, you're connected, Irvi, if you want to say something.
Hi. My question was around praxis and executive function. I was wondering, do we see most of children with praxis challenges ending up having executive function challenges?
That's a very good question, and I'm going to say yes, that the majority of the children that I'm working with now, I do a lot of evaluations. I'm seeing more and more and more kids with executive functioning difficulties with and without sensory integration and praxis issues. But certainly when they have dyspraxia and difficulty with sensory regulation, they're much more likely to show significant scores in emotion regulation, behavior regulation, and cognitive regulation. So I would say yes.
Definitely agree. And I would just say, though, don't forget about the importance of sensory-based praxis. I think a lot of times when we have children with dyspraxia, because it's been difficult sometimes to do the full assessments, we often miss, or if you're not doing a full assessment, you might miss the key piece of how important tactile perception and proprioception is in praxis. So just don't forget about that. We do have our new test coming soon. We're going to have a little more time to collect data on the EASY. Maybe we'll do one of these sessions sometime soon on the EASY with our down Wednesday EASY discussions. But we hope to have some assessment tools for you all soon. So just don't forget about the importance of sensory perception as well. Thank you, Sue. Sue likes the positive spin. Oh, great. That's great, Irvi. Where are you, Irvi? Where in the world are you? Hong Kong. Hey, gosh.
I hope everybody's doing well in Hong Kong. You guys have been so careful, and I think it's paid off in terms of your profession. So, but I know your prevention, but I know it hasn't been easy.
Okay, well, we're coming up on time. I think it's just about an hour. So, and we know it's very late for some of you in Europe and other parts of the world. I can't even imagine what time it is in Hong Kong. Maybe it's more civilized time. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all, and thanks to everyone who contributed. We really appreciated hearing from everyone. We'll think about doing this again. We want to stay connected. We don't want anyone to feel isolated in their physical isolation, but let's definitely stay socially connected. I'm just going to put our slide back up here as we want
and
everyone.
Don't forget to use those sensory strategies for yourself. They work.
That is right. Well, Susanne, I love being with you. Even when we're not together. It's really
thank you so much.
So
I feel
fun.
the same.
All right, everyone, stay safe and stay connected, stay positive, and who knows, we'll see if we can do this again soon, and we'll see if we can make the room a little bigger.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.